Tonight, we are honored to have Dr. Lee Carter with us, and Raleigh, our demonstrator coordinator, is going to open up with a little discussion, I think, and tell us some other things about Lee, and then we're going to maybe ask for a few other people to get up and speak on Lee's behalf, and then we're going to go into an awesome demonstration.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Well, listen, obviously tonight we have a great opportunity to watch Lee and his demonstration, so that's pretty exciting. But more importantly, we have a chance to pay tribute to your contribution to woodturning worldwide and in the Rocky Mountain Club. A little over a week ago, I had a chance to go out and spend the day with Lee in his shop. First of all, an amazing shop. Wow. So look for the newsletter, because I have lots of pictures I took of Lee and his shop, and we're going to put that in the newsletter, Jenny. So I'll make sure that that gets out so they can all see your shop. And he shared so many stories with me. It was amazing, a lot of good stories. And you know, the first club, right after the AAW had its annual symposium in 1994, held at CSU, right after that, the Rocky Mountain Woodturning Club was formed. And it was Lee and David Nittman, that started the club. Pretty exciting. And Lee said just had an overwhelming crowd of 4 that attended. And, you know, now look today, and that first meeting was held at CSU. So pretty exciting stuff there. After that, the stories that Lee shared was just amazing. I had a chance to talk to Kip Christensen, and Kip was going to be here, but unfortunately he had a conflict. So he asked if I would read a little tribute to you, and I have this in a letter for you as well. As you know, Kip Christensen is an honorary member of the AAW this year. Pretty exciting for him, and he's very disappointed. One of the stories that Lee shared with me, he said, Dale Nish. He said, I always looked at Dale Nish as my mentor. This is Lee Carter saying that. And as I was talking to Kip, he says, it's funny. Dale Nish would say Lee Carter was his mentor. They had an amazing relationship, but let me read this story, or this letter. It says,
Hey, Raleigh, can you step aside real quick?
Yep.
One seat.
Hello, Lori. How are you?
A little lost.
No, you're good. You're good.
Sorry, buddy.
Yep, no, good. So it starts off a brief tribute to Lee and Laura Lee Carter. So Kip included this. He says, I have been fortunate to know Lee Carter since the late 1970s, when I was introduced to him by Dale Nish. Since then, I have known Lee as a teacher, a friend, and a mentor. In the 1990s, both Lee and Laura Lee became good friends to my family when we moved to LaPorte while I worked on my PhD degree at the Colorado State University. During that time, Lee served as my graduate advisor. He and Laura Lee welcomed my wife and I and five young children in their home. That's crazy. I mean, that's amazing. My kids have fond memories of visiting the Carters and enjoyed the conversation and fresh homemade ice cream. Lee is a great teacher, a mentor, and a friend, not only to young college students, but to new classroom teachers. In teaching, Lee was always prepared with an elaborate teaching aids. True statement, by the way. Lots of aids. You can see them here. And by the way, he said that Dale Nish was always envious of all of the aids that Lee Carter would bring. Said he would have full plans, fully built out, meaningful hands-on learning activities. Lee is positive in his communication with a great sense of humor, always keeping things interesting. His students have sensed that he cares genuinely for them personally. When teaching about assessing a student's work, I remember him saying, say something nice before you give negative feedback. This is kind of funny. He says, even if you have to compliment their nice socks. In my association with Lee and Laura Lee, I have found them to be fun, warm, encouraging, and uplifting. They are both very good at many things. Most important, they are good, just good people. As good as you would expect to find anywhere. Anyone that has been fortunate enough to spend time with Lee and Laura Lee Carter has been uplifted and made feel better. So that's from Kip Christensen. And there's that letter, so you can reread it later. So we're also fortunate that we have, a honorary lifetime member, kind of the go-to guy in our club. I actually call you that, Doug, the go-to guy. And we love Doug. And so, but Doug has a little presentation for you as well. Come on up. There you go, go-to.
Okay. But before I get into my spiel, I got two things to say first. Number one, we're very lucky. We were supposed to have gotten 7 pallets of wood in today. And they called at about 10 o'clock this morning and said, oh, we're not going to be able to deliver that until tomorrow. Yeah. So that's the good news and the even better news. The second thing I want to talk about is be careful turning. John Lynch stopped by today to say, you know, he's going to miss the meeting tonight, but to say hi to you, because John was on his way to a follow-up appointment at the doctor's office because he was turning the bottom off of a bowl in a vacuum chuck, and he thought he saw a scratch on it. He was sanding it, pulled away the tailstock, so he got out his gouge, and he was going to take one cut on it again, and he hooked the wing, and the bowl came and smashed his face and broke his nose and 2 black eyes and all that. That happened like a week or 2 ago. So they glued his nose back together, but so be careful out there turning. Okay. Okay, now back to the important part. Lee Carter came to Colorado in the summer of 1980. I was finishing my teaching assignment at CSU, and he was just getting ready to start his. Later in the early 90s, Lee convinced the AAW to hold its annual symposium at CSU in 1994, and that was the impetus for starting our woodturning club. Lee Carter, Trent Bosch, David Nittman were some of the people who worked very hard to get this club started, and we all owe them a great deal of gratitude for their efforts. I was not invited to the first meeting, but I did get involved shortly after and have been active in it ever since. Lee continued teaching at CSU until he retired in 1996, and during his tenure there was very involved in getting our symposium started. For some of you that were here at the beginning, we had our symposium at CSU for many, many years. Until they decided to go a different direction with their industrial tech program. He also taught a multitude of classes at his Rocky Mountain School of Woodturning at his ranch in LaPorte, where many of us have had the opportunity to learn from the master. Lee was also very close friends with the late, great Dale Nish, and the two of them traveled all over the world giving workshops and demos. And if you've ever heard him tell the stories, my favorite story with Nish is, and hopefully it won't happen tonight, but Dale was doing a demonstration one day in England, and he looked up, and the guy in the front row next to Lee had fallen asleep and nodded off. He goes, "Carter, wake that guy up." And Lee goes, "You wake him up. You're the one that put him to sleep." So Lee has been very supportive of continuing woodworking and woodturning programs in schools across the state. He demonstrated many years at the annual CTEA conference and oftentimes cajoled or coerced others into helping out at those events. I had the pleasure of accompanying him many times to those. And he also went to several of the schools in the Pewter School District and just spent days at a time with kids in the schools, teaching them woodturning and all that kind of stuff. So, and that was at no cost and all that. He was also on the board of directors of the AAW at one time. So he's been involved in this a really, really long time. and he also demonstrated many times at our symposium. He was demonstrating one time, I'm glad Laura Lee's here, he was demonstrating one time at a symposium. Was that Utah or was it here, whatever? Anyway, someone asked him about his little ranch in LaPorte, and he said something about all those darn horses, you know, taking up time and all that. Well, what he didn't know is Laura Lee had snuck in the back door, and she was sitting in the back row, and she goes, "Excuse me, could you speak up? I couldn't hardly hear that back here." I think that maybe cost him another horse or two, but I'm not sure. Lee was never president of the Rocky Mountain Woodturners, even though he was the founder of it, but he didn't have to be, because he carried so much respect and influence that we just listened to what he had to say. He is a founder of this club and has always been a leader and inspiration for this club and all that have known him. We've been blessed for nearly 30 years with this man, and hopefully many more to come. Lee will be turning 87 on the 4th of July. So he's got a birthday coming up too. Because he has never been president, now he is. Now he's the honorary president in recognition of your lifelong contributions to the woodturning world and the Rocky Mountain Woodturning Club. So there you go, sir. You bet.
Anyone would like to make any comments? I'll pass the mic over. Here we go. Here you go, Tom.
Tell you a little known fact about the 1994 AAW Symposium that Lee was instrumental in having at CSU. That symposium had a little bit of money left over, about 50 grand, actually a little bit more than 50 grand. And Lee was instrumental in convincing the AAW to contribute that money to the university to establish a scholarship. And that scholarship has been given almost every year ever since, and there is still about 50 grand left in the principal. Congratulations, Lee. Great job.
Any other comments? Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get, there we go.
Yeah, I'll just want to get a picture. I'm a guest, so I don't want to say much, but I took a class from Lee, and I just wanted to show this off. My wife sent it to me. This is a product of Lee's teaching. Well, no, it's actually incredible, but this is proof that even a good teacher can have a student that makes bad stuff. I think I'd been turning about 3 months, and frankly, I looked at it tonight and I go, that thing looks more like a piss pot than it does a vase. But anyway, but you know what I think I'm going to do in your honor? I think I'm going to cut the top off of it. Whoops. I think I'm going to cut the top off of it and actually make something semi-desirable out of it. But anyway, it was a great class, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Bruce, and I've known the Carter family since the beginning when the doc started the program. And I've been out at his ranch and his shop for many, many symposiums. He has never, ever turned anybody loose that still had questions when they could come back later. He is a wonderful teacher. You cannot believe the high school students that he mentored. Just come back. Come back. He just is a wonderful teacher. And I used to screw up quite a bit of stuff, and you just smile and say, did you learn anything? More or less, you know. So Carter is as wonderful as everybody's saying. Thank you.
Bruce, what do you call him? What's his name? You call him Doc?
Doc, yeah, all the time.
Yeah, they call him Doc. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay.
If there's nobody else, then we'll go ahead and get started on tonight's demo. We're lucky enough that Dr. Carter, we're lucky enough that Dr. Carter is going to do a demonstration for us tonight on pewter inlays. And I, for one, am looking very much forward to this. So we're going to give Dr. Carter a few minutes to get up here and get set up. And if you guys need to go to the bathroom or get another drink, I know that was really early on our last intermission. Go ahead and do that, and then we will maybe take 5 minutes here, and then let's get started.
And in the meantime, if you don't get out of your seat, I'll pass this around. This is something that Doc actually cast when I was out there, and I turned a little, so you can all see what he did, we did. He said, I kind of should have thought about that, because he said, nice socks, Raleigh. No. Didn't say anything about the turning, though.
Now, what do I do about this?
We hear him okay?
Okay,
It's picking it up on the side there.
is it?
That's right up here. Right up here. You're good.
Okay, I'm good.
Can you sing for us?
Sing? No, I couldn't
No?
carry a tune in the basket, but
Okay.
well, anyhow, all good things come to an end, and I will be in the club. I'll be turning, so on, but this is my last big show to speak of, because I've done it now for 50 years, and part of it was speeches. I have got some stories I was going to tell about Dale, but you beat me to it on that one there. But there's been a lot of other things that we've done, and I remember when I did that, I was the only one that wasn't a member of the family that spoke at Dale's funeral, and I knew it had to be light or I'd have never got through it. But then Daryl Nish, who runs Craft Supplies, why he was followed me up, and he said, you know, if Lee Carter was my bishop, I'd go to church more often. But anyhow, he liked the jokes and so on, and so it's been a great experience here, and I really enjoyed it. I just want you to know that when I first came over here, why, it was a trial deal for a year, and I remember the wife telling me, now, you do whatever you want, but I don't care what you do. I'm going home after 9 months. And so anyhow, we've been here 43 years now, and we've got over there quite often, but we sure haven't moved or anything. And we've loved to be in here and had great times doing it. But I think you'll find this kind of an interesting deal here. But I want you to know that this is only part of it. The good part's going to be later, and that's when my buddy, where's Don Benz? Isn't he in here now? Don Benz. He may be taking a break, but he's the one that's really good in putting pieces together. And you'll see one platter I got that he cut the parts for me, and it has 132. I brought, might get your bowl, would you? I want to just show you that, because I've branched out now and got into a little bit of the segmented, and this is one I made for her, for Brenda here, but I made 7 of them for all the kids and everybody, and I could generally whip out a bowl in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. These take about 7 hours, because you've got this in here has about 134 pieces in it, something like that. So that's kind of a deal. And I don't know where our buddy is, but he'll be here shortly. But he's going to show you how to do it. He was a good friend of mine, and it's small world when the neighbor up on the hill just came walking by and came over and talked to me, and I told her what I was doing. And I said, yeah, and I've got Don Benz. You got Don Benz? He was my boss for I don't know how many years out of Kodak, and he was in charge of making all film and so on for x-rays. And so Don is a pretty close friend, and we met him in church, and so he comes out about once a month and so on. I didn't think I'd get to keep him, because the first time he was out there, he ran his thumb into the grinder when he was sharpening the tool, and he never let me forget it. Well, there's Don right there. I thought you were out. Did you stand up? Yeah, Don. Okay, that's Don Benz, and he's after me, and so mine won't be all that long, but I'll show you how I go about it. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this business, I'll tell you that, because it melts fast. It's just that you got to be a little careful, because it's got to be level, and if it isn't, it runs just like water. And I've done a few spots on the floor and a few things like that. So anyhow, but I just had a few things put out here, and you saw the one that Raleigh had here. But you can get real good detail. And I take these here, and then I put them on top of boxes and so on, you know. And they help an awful lot, and they it's just another media, but they're getting a little more expensive now, but it melts at 400 degrees, and it really I'll show you. Now that's the other thing I forgot about. Going to have a bucket or something with water in it. So if you can find me something there. I meant to bring my own bucket, and I forgot that. But anyhow, we'll do that, and then he's going to show you how he does this segmented things, and it's fascinated me, and I like to do it. It's just that it takes a little longer, and you got to be a little more careful in your joints and so on. But they do turn out real nice, and so that's a good project. But anyhow, let me go back now and tell you how I got started in this business and like there. first of all, there's a little error in that newsletter saying I had a scholarship for 4 years. I was a walk-on, and I think I got flunk slips in every class in the fall because I wasn't really wanting to do that. I was in Milford, and I wanted to be a cabinet maker. That's what I started to do. But my dad was with me, and so he said, well, let's just go check the university. And so we did. And make it a long story short, why I saw a buddy in there that was in a fraternity, and there was about 144 in there. And somehow, some way, why I come out in the top 10. And so Ed Weir, if you ever heard that name, why he kind of took a liking to me, but he was at the stage where he couldn't even remember my name. So he called me Guy and Boy and a few other things. But he gave me a good start. And from then on, why I really enjoyed the track. And so I don't think I'd have got through without the track, because that's what kept me going. And I didn't think too much of those classes that were all for theory and so on, to be a teacher, you know. And so anyhow, that one thing led to another. And so that was really how I got started there. But once I got out, why, I thank you very much. Yep. I went to Trumbull, Nebraska, and just before school started, or right when school started, why, I married my lovely wife. I'd taken motorcycle trips out there during the summers. I worked haying and running combine and things like that. But anyhow, one thing led to another. And so we got married, and believe it or not, why, it was September the 22nd, and that's coming up, and that's going to be our 65th wedding anniversary. So to tell you the truth, I know she's going to heaven. She's had her hell on earth with me for 65 years. But anyhow, we've had a good time and done a lot of things. And this time tomorrow night, why, we'll be in not Aberdeen. What's that? Lewiston, and then we're going up to, what's the lodge? I can't think of it. Anyway. And what's kind of interesting is that for 13 years I was a state supervisor in Idaho, and so I've been to every school in the state that had tech ed, and I set up quite a few programs in some of the schools. But anyhow, it was a good tour, but I was getting a little tired of traveling and so on there. And in the meantime, why, they called and says, your name's been submitted to run for the president-elect on the board. And I said, I got about as much chance as snowball in hell getting that. You know, there's only 200 teachers, or a little less than I got. And I was running against people that had 800 and 900 in their state and so on. But nevertheless, how it ever happened, why, they gave me a call and said, yep, you've been elected. So I had 3 excellent years. And a couple of stories. Number one was that Jimmy Carter was the president at that time. And I had to fly into Washington, D.C., because our office was in the NEA building. And boy, you couldn't believe it. Look at that name on there and say, oh, you relate? Yeah, I saw him go see my uncle over in the White House. And never met him, but anyhow, why, it's amazing how it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I thought, I've never forgot that. But anyhow, why, one thing led to another. So to get started here, does anybody have any questions? How many have used pewter in their turnings? How many? Okay, there's one there. 2, 3. Well, we got a new flock here to see how it's done. Not hard. Doesn't take much. Most of it are homemade tools that I use and so on here. But right now, what I was doing is just digging this up here, and I'm going to roll that out just a little bit. There's various things you can use. First of all, you can use this here, which is called, forget the name of it right here, but it's right there, Deft Clay. And I buy a kit of that, about $75, something like that, and that'll get you going. I like to use this here, but I also use various ones like this here. It works pretty good too. It burns the wood, but doesn't hurt anything. And I've got several of those. And the third one is plaster Paris. Now, I have not used plaster Paris, but those are all three materials that you can use for molds for your pewter and the like there. And so let's work this down just a little bit. Anybody has any questions about what you can do or where you get it and so on? Now that's another thing. I've got quite a few articles over there. You're welcome to get the name and address on them. And I started making a list of where you can get the pewter.
And Lee, we also made a PDF of some of those handouts that we will send out for everyone in the club.
Oh,
There's
good.
also a popular wood turning or woodworking magazine that there's a copyright, but there's a copy of it so that you know what issue to look for.
Oh,
so
great,
we'll send
great.
it out to you all electronically,
Yeah,
okay?
That'll be great. And you can see some of the ones that I didn't have near that much, but I don't know how I did it, but I ran off without my regular notebook. But it's about that thick and stuff I've collected now over the years, but it always kind of fascinated me. And I don't know if you ever heard the name Stuart Mortimer, but Stuart Mortimer was the one that got me going in this here. And in fact, let's see, who was it? Oh, that was Dennis. Dennis Liggett couldn't make it. He's got a very sick wife, and he was going to be here at night. But he spent a month with Mortimer, and they got to be good friends. And in fact, what was really sad was that they were scheduled, and we were going to pick them up, and they were going to spend a week with us about, when was it, 2-3 years ago. And she was going up the stairs, and her name was Linda, and died of a massive heart attack. And so that really took the wind out of him because they did everything together. And so, but Stuart now is called 2 or 3 times, and I'm hoping to get him back over. If you ever see his name on a deal, it might be this year. I don't think so. But anyway, Stuart is very, very good. And you can see some pictures over there. He's written a whole book on just cutting twists, making twists for your boxes and things like that. So anyhow, that's where I got my start. And you'll see pictures there. I didn't turn them. They were turned by Stuart. And but it's really kind of neat. We stayed 3 days at his place, and he lives in a little house, not a little house. He had a fairly big house, and he had a store on one end. But he was very, very active in turning, and we've had him over here. He's been to here a couple of times for us, and so Stuart is a real close friend. But
So Lee,
yeah,
what are you doing there?
what I'm doing is chopping this up just a little bit because I had a casting. In fact, it was your casting. It was right there, and you always get a little burn on there. And so what I'm doing is just chopping it up, and then I'll smooth it out here, and then I take my rolling pin, and everybody can make one of those things. And I take and I roll this down
Flatten it out.
and flatten it out.
Yep.
The key to this business is making sure that you're level. Now, I think the table's pretty good, but we'll see.
Do you get a little level at home and
I
kind
gotta-
of check it?
I got a little level, thought I had a little level in here. It's in
But typically
some-
you would check it to
I
be
check
level.
it,
at
yeah, I
home.
check this.
Yeah.
And you can tell in a hurry when you start pouring that hot stuff if it's level or not.
Yep.
It's in some box. I beg your pardon. It's made out of wood, and I did turn that whirling pin. I didn't buy it. So, anyhow, why?
Don't pay any attention to those hecklers.
Yeah, I noticed that. So, any questions so far here? Now, what I'm doing is smoothing this out. But now I swore I had check these boxes. Let's see, is there one in there? There it is, right there.
go.
That's what I
Bingo.
want. This is what I use here. And I put that on there like so. That's dead nuts on right there. And that one there, that is not dead nuts on, so I got to raise that up just a little bit. And then I'll melt some pewter. So we're just going to do one here for right now. And
Where do you find your molds?
molds, yeah, things like this here. I go to a dollar store and I go over there in the doll place, and most of this stuff I find in with the dolls and so on. And also I go to
Just
the
door pulls and
and door pulls.
Yeah.
That's what those are there, and you can do that.
yeah.
Let's see. Now I got this right here, and I was going to
Is
pass
that the one
this
you're using
around.
tonight?
What's that?
Are you using that one tonight?
No, this is one I cast, but I wanted you to see the detail on it,
Oh yeah.
and so I'll pass it around. But there's the wood. My pattern
Everyone see
is
that
someplace
first?
there. That worked out pretty good for me, but it doesn't take much, and it certainly, I think, enhances your deal. And a lot of people think it's pure silver or something, and really it isn't. But if anybody's got any questions, the nice thing about this is here, and I've got some pieces laying around here too. I saw them, but you can salvage. Yeah, there they are, right there. You can salvage most of your turnings by. What's that?
I think your 1 foot is on, 1 foot's off. It's
Oh, that's what's throwing me off. Okay, thank you. When you get 87, why, that's not old if you're a tree, but otherwise I'm on 87. I appreciate all the celebration you're going to do for my birthday, because it is 4th of July.
Perfect.
And so you don't know me, but we always have a good time on that.
So
that
Lee,
date.
you save the shavings so that you can reuse them.
Oh yeah.
What about
now,
the wood chips in the?
wood chips? Well, generally they'll burn out
just
if
burn
you
out.
got them in there.
Yeah.
But I keep this. You see, that box is about shot. I need to get another one, but I put it right underneath my deal. When I turn, I'll turn some of this stuff for you. But generally, this one here,
Yeah.
I set it on a little log, and it sits right there, and I get most of my chips right there. Okay.
Perfect.
So that works pretty good, and it's makes it a lot cheaper, because the stuff is a little expensive. And this is the way they come. They come in ingots, and this one here I've used about a third of my pewter here, but and I can't tell you exactly what I'll pass that around and see. It is fairly heavy. Okay, now what do we? Huh?
Where do you buy the pewter? Is it online?
Okay, yeah. I was making out a list, and I'll get a list for you for where you can get it.
We'll follow up and get it to.
Yeah. we'll get it in
to
the newsletter.
Jenny. Yep.
But
As well as this casting clay.
yeah, I've got the address for that one there, and I've got all the receipts from what I've bought for it, so we can take the addresses off there. There's one here in the United States, but I think they've went out of business. I've called them 3 times now, but there's one in Canada that I use all the time.
You can find the pewter on Amazon, so it is out there. So
Hey, what's that now?
it is on Amazon now. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Yeah.
Well,
Everything's on Amazon anymore, right?
yeah, right
Design,
there.
are you making copy?
Okay, I got one here. I thought I would just get one that has some design to it, and that's a hollow one. Okay, now,
What do you need?
well, I didn't get it here. I have a press that I press these in with, but I didn't get the press in here, so I'm going to have to play it by ear. I'll just take this one right here and see if I can't just roll that in there. Main thing I wanted you to just see is the detail you can get. If you saw Raleigh's here, why it has good detail, and so this is not for anything special. But I have a press at home, and I thought I threw it in, but I bet I forgot that one. So, been a little hectic around our place in the last 48 hours, and so it's not bad. It's bad enough to have a wife or a daughter or somebody sick, but when the horses are sick, let me tell you, you drop everything and go. And so, consequently, she rides the horses and I ride the motorcycles. I've tried to convert her over, and there's no chance of that at all. And the other thing was, she says, I don't care what you get, but get a good one, but that's your last one. I said, that's fair enough for me, and that'd be the same thing. Now, wait a minute. I don't care, but I'm going to buy another horse before I die, whether you like it or not. And so, anyhow, I have to honor that, that's for sure. Okay, let's see if we got any kind of imprint and all, and we'll do our first casting here real quick with this right here. But you could use that for an inlay on top of a box or anything you want. And so it does. You just have to be careful when you take these out, otherwise you can take stuff with you. Okay, that's not too bad. That's what it looks like right there. So I've got detail.
Do you usually use an arbor press at home?
Yes, I got a small arbor press. That's exactly right. That's what I would have brought. So, you bet. Okay, so this is our first go round now. I've got to watch my time because I want you to have plenty of. What's that?
Do you need the water close to you or no?
Well, yeah, we'll put that water right there, and this one here has to be turned around like this. And if everything goes right, why, let me get that. Okay, this acts a little funny at times. I don't think it works either. I brought 2 of them, but we'll see here. We'll get it going. Nothing else, I just use a match. Well, this one here should do it. We just had it going a little bit ago. try that. No. Yeah, they are. They're supposed to work there. There you go. Got her. Got her right there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next thing I use, I don't melt a lot of it, but I use just a little dipper like that. And I take my pewter. I think I use good stuff to start with here. And it doesn't take you too long. If it does happen to go out, I just push that button and it starts over again. But this is the way I melt it. And this is the way I was taught by Stuart. And you can get different sizes of ladles.
So does the handle get hot?
No,
The handle doesn't get hot.
it never gets hot. No. It'll go down just a little bit.
And this melts at what temperature?
This is melting at about 450.
450.
Yeah. You can't get much cheaper than this for a setup because it doesn't take long. There you can see it melting in there.
And just typical propane fuel,
What's that?
just propane type fuel is what
Yeah,
you
that
use.
works good.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
And you can all see it's melted.
Okay, now we're going to see how level that is pretty quick there. There you can see my pewter. It's just like water in there. That should do the job. And that's all there is to it.
The water?
Now I always, well,
Not really.
I generally put this in a vise. Let me shut this off for you. Just hold that for me just a minute. Any questions so far? You can tell it this. You don't have to be too smart to do this job, but it works good, and I've done quite a few castings and so on, and the like there. That, now, my bottle, didn't get it here either. But you can tell it's looking pretty good now. I generally have a little spray bottle. So that's the first shot. Next one we'll do won't be in this, it's going to be in one of those. And I turn those and then I file them down and turn these on the lathe. That one there I could still turn on the lathe if I want to turn the back side there. Doesn't take long for it to harden up. And there's your design right there. Okay? So, and then I have a toothbrush. Did have a toothbrush. There's my can right here. That's my toothbrush. And if I got any sand in there, there we go. Okay, I'll put that over here. And if I got any sand in there, that comes out. And the thing is, this will take a nice polish. Now I had got this here, and I can take this like so.
Like a blacksmith.
Huh?
Like a blacksmith that puts
Yeah,
the horseshoe
yeah,
in.
that's right. Yeah. Well, we'll just pass this around so you can see, but the main thing I want you to see is the detail now. What I'll generally do is I put this in my chuck, when my chuck's there, and I'll turn this down. It's still hot, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
That's all right. Good there. Yep, pass that around. Any questions on that first one? So you've got 3 choices. You can do the sand, you can do plaster Paris, or you can just make your own, and that's what I do quite often here. I have
Does the water affect the sand at all?
water, and I haven't had any problem. No.
You just dump the water off?
Most of the time, I'll just work it in there a little bit.
That's still hot. It's
Yeah,
still boiling.
I can see that.
You want to put it in the tub of water?
Well, let's see now. I've got a scraper, got a job for everything, and this is my scraper right here. That one there is stuck in there. There we go. So I take this like so, put a little water on this here, and then I generally will put this in with my, where's shavings? Where are they at? Oh, I put them up there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, doesn't take long. Cools off. Put that right in there, and then I'm ready for my next pour. Any questions so far? Lots of different applications for these here, and most of the time I always like to have a base out of pewter, and you can see what I have over there. And this one does not have that, and but yeah, I guess that's a bowl I made. I couldn't remember that. All righty, well, we got this right here. Now let's come up with something else here. And I thought I brought a turning that had a recess in it, but you'll notice. Let's see, bring me that largest vase right there, if you would. It's got pewter on the bottom. Yeah, that one there. Okay. This was my pattern for that one there. Put that, and then I've got a couple of tools that, well, what do you call them? Anyhow, yeah, there's another one right there. That's got a good one. That's one we just did last week, and that's belongs to Don. And I've been fascinated with these gluing jobs, but he's going to show you how he does that. And you got to have some good rubber bands and tight, but it's amazing. The one thing I didn't bring that I really didn't need to, but I got an overhead sander. And we run all these things through so they're perfectly even on both sides. I do that also with my pewter, so it's run even. I run that right through. And this one here, if I'd had a little more time, I was going to put in a groove right here. And you got to pour it into a wooden mold to start with. Then you can put it into one of these here, but
So Lee, do you make the pewter in a ring and then fit it on?
Yeah, I make
glue it.
I put the pewter in there, and I always make it a little big so that you can see there's not much space in there. This one here, I forgot to do this afternoon, was take off that little bum there, but I think it adds another dimension there.
Yep.
And this was a poor casting. How's that?
Then you'll go ahead and turn it and true it all up.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of glue do you use to glue it on?
I use Petrobond. No.
Just like a
What
yellow.
do we use, Dave? Don? What kind of glue do we use to glue these all together? It's all the same thing. Here,
Tybon 2.
Hibon 2. Okay.
The pewter onto the wood is type 1 too also?
Yeah. Well, on that one there, I used super glue, and they glued that one on there. But most of the time, you can use that, and I think that's what I put on this one here. But anyway, you can pass that around. Any questions so far? You're awful quiet, so I don't know whether this is sinking in or not. But there.
Sinking in, that's why everybody's quiet.
Let me get the water here. Well, I just want you to know that I'm not giving up on wood turning, but you know, after 50 years and traveling, I've had workshops in Canada. I've had them on the East Coast, on the West Coast, and of course in between, like there. Although I've got students, just like Doug and some of the others, that are already past me on how many of those they're doing now. And they're getting real good results on that. So I'm going to put that right there.
I was going to intersect something.
What's that?
Doc Carter even taught blind people in New York City. Woodturning.
That's what?
You taught the blind.
Oh, yeah. I went to special school in New York. Thank you. I went to special school in New York, and the girls were pretty small, but we were there, and so I've always had a warm heart for the blind. If you've ever got those jobs you play in a yard, those darts, I think they've kind of outlawed them now, but those were invented and built by the blind, and they have a big operation in New York, the blind people. And we had them. We had 4 or 5 come out to our trailer, and they'd just come in and they'd feel the walls, and then they'd feel how you looked, and it was amazing there. If you ever get a chance to work with them, why, there's something else. But I sure enjoyed that. All righty. Well, we're going to go with, I think I'm going to use this one right there this time. Just save me turning it now. And most of these will fit. Now you see that one there is a little smaller. Here's another one I've used. And I cast this, and then I put on here, and so the whole thing just comes out in one deal. And so you can make a lot of your own patterns without any trouble. Now when you buy one of these kits, you'll get something that looks like this here. And these come apart, supposedly. And there they are. And so you got a top and a bottom. So if you're needing something that's going to be in a 3-piece mold, why then this something like that for small. I've stuck mainly with smaller items because they go faster and doesn't take as much pewter. But I've found it real fascinating. Okay, we got the water. We got this right here. Let's take and Can you
melt some shavings so they can see that?
Yep, I'll melt some shavings.
Yeah.
If you can take that bandsaw, cut me off a couple more pieces. I use it if you would. Yep, we'll do some of these here so you can see exactly how you can do it. We'll even melt the old one here. But and then I want to turn. This next one I'll turn now on the lathe so you can see how you can clean it up and so on. But it looks just like silver. I mean, that's a pattern, and so I'm always on the lookout for something I can press into my sand and cast, you know.
Pass that around.
Uh-huh.
Do you have to treat it to keep it polished looking?
Do I do it? Do I?
Treat it to keep it polished looking, or does it tarnish, or like? Does it
Haven't haven't had any trouble with it. No, and you can see some of these been on these bowls for several years, and bring up that.
How do you mount that on the lathe to turn it so you could use that as an insert?
How do I mount on the lathe? Well, first thing I would take this is I've got a lathe that has suction on it, and I have a cup, various sizes cups and rubber, and so I put this on, and my vacuum just holds that in place, and I come back and I turn that out, and you can make your own. You know, I think I got that in a, yeah, I did. It was in a second-hand store. And the guy, I said, what about this? Well, I don't even know what it's for. How much is it? Oh, you can have it for $50. Well, it was brand new, and they sell for about $250. And so you check your second-hand stores and so on. You'll find you can find these. First of all, when I first started with this, I had students, and they were going to the appliance store and taking one off of a refrigerator or something that was out of because there's those have the same thing. So you don't have to spend much money, and that's a good source right there. Okay, well, I don't know if anybody wants this, but that's yours there. We'll use these. Thank you. We'll put these in here. Okay. This time now I'm going to put this up here. And I'm going to make sure that it's level. So, okay, now that one there's out just a half a hair. So what I do is I just put a little something underneath it. That's dead nuts on there. Oop, this one here has got to go on this side here. And sometimes I use cardboard, sometimes I use any tool I can find. Let's see if I can stick this in here. Okay, you're not going to have it too long. That's too much. Yeah, 2 or 3 pieces of paper. Or
Slip that in there.
okay. That's dead nuts on. Good, good. Thank you. Thank you. So we got that one right there. Okay, now we're going to try this here. Now you're going to find this will spark a little bit on you. Where's my fire boy here? Okay. I'm going to put this back in here. Got her. I thank you very much. Now, sometimes that'll go out on you, and that's what I got this lever for here. Just like so. So get one of these jobbies here and just screw it on your cancer. And I've been using one of these for 2 years. I did bring one, make sure I didn't run out though, a little bigger one. But that works pretty good. All righty, let's. There it is right here. We'll clean this off. We put down plywood here, so in case you drop it, because this.
Stone scraper?
Yeah, I can use that. Where is it? I just had it here a little bit ago. No, that's not it. Here it is, right here. It's holding my pan right now, so I gotta keep it even there. But pretty soon you're going to find any impurities and so on kind of catch fire there. And I'll just show you get down too low. Oh, there we go.
So Lee, could you take pewter and fill a crack in a piece of wood and then turn it and just...
Oh, you can, but it's going to burn your wood. And so I generally have never done that.
Will it bond to the wood enough in the inside to stay there?
Well, haven't tried it, tell you the truth. I've got about 15 jars of every kind of inlay I can use, and I use a lot of powdered turquoise in any of my turnings and so on. I have cracks and so on. I love the cracks. In fact, Douglas here has been the main person who's used those. Now he's got off on the bench here making these things, and I sure enjoy them. But at one time, why, wasn't that mainly what you turned, was defective tool, defective wood? Okay, now I wasn't really prepared. I need a can, a little can. I got a little can here somewhere, and I want to use to scrape this off. But you see, I haven't got much. I'm gonna. Yep, that'll do her. That'll do her.
You want the rag in there?
That's all right. No, I don't need that. Okay. Now you can see it gets a little wild. But you're not wasting much, and the only trouble is you get a lot of foreign materials there, and they need scratched off. So I'm burning that. But anybody could do this. It's not hard to do. Okay, now, I got it underneath here. I got to use that. You can see what it looks like, but I've still need some. Where's those pieces? Now we cut. There it is, right there. I'll just put one of those or two of them in there. Is that? I think I better melt most of these, but that's the way it works there. And it's an awful quiet bunch. Nobody hollering, yelling, nothing. What's that? Never, haven't had a fire in there, no. I get some hot feet once in a while. I dribble this thing around, but I love my pewter. And the thing is, I think those are 12 pounds, and you can see it melting right there, just like water. How's that?
Can you tint or color it?
I imagine you can. I've never done it, but I think it could be done. Yeah. Okay. And when I got these kind here, why, I've got to make sure I got plenty of pewter in there. And you can see the pewter right there, and that's scraps and so on. And so I just put that in there, and I think I'll have enough this time. If I don't, I'll always thought I should have. Okay, this time we're using a wooden form, just turned on a lathe. Well, it's a gamble. I'll try it, I guess. Yeah, I got more than I thought. Whoop. Got the dust and the dirt there. Okay. Any question on that one? This time now you saw we did it with wood. Question? Did I what?
The question is, did you ever work at a foundry?
Oh, work in a foundry. Well, I can tell you a story about that, because I was always fond of that, and we had a foundry at school I went to, and so I picked up on it, but I really liked the foundry, so I put in the first foundry in the state of Idaho in a high school, and that came out of Illinois, and I had good friends there, and then they gave me a whole set, everything from the cart to the sand and everything, and I'd loan it out to schools, and they'd keep it for about a semester, and about 90% of them then all bought a foundry and put it in there, and so quite a few of the schools in Idaho still have foundry and still casting, so they see how it's done. But I was always fascinated by the foundry, and I had my own there for a while. So anyhow, that's the story on that. That's pretty hot there, but this is kind of messy. Now that's why you'll see here now I've got a jigsaw. Yeah, I got the jigsaw. I take and put that now to work on it. Doesn't look like much on the back side, but on the front side you should have a fairly nice design. So we're going to just push that off of there, and it doesn't take long for this to cool off. At home I have a fairly good grinder, and I have a pot that has water in it for my tools so they don't get too hot, and so consequently that's what I generally use. Now I got to get something a little sharper, so I should have a knife or a putty knife here or something, and let's see if I can't pop that out so you can see what we got here, and then I'll show you what the next step is. This one's yeah.
Can you tell us about your leather work?
Leather work?
Your leather work. Can you tell them about your leather work?
Well, yeah, that's fine. I pretty near quit teaching school and going with Tandy Leather. First of all, I had a good friend that was the president of that, and that was John Wilson, and he used to come to Boise. And when I first got to Boise, why, that was one of the three jobs I had, was teaching Funland Express, and I taught leather work, and so it's been a long time since I've done much of that, but I had a nice set of tools, and I loaned them out to my daughter, and come to find out that became her problem. I mean, her stuff. Now this is the first one I've had that's been quite this tight. Well, we'll see what we can do here. It's coming, slow but sure. There we got her. Yeah, it's just a tad bit warm yet. Okay, now you're going to get ones like that. And so this is where I asked to have a jigsaw. And so what I'm going to do is cut this off here, and I'll melt that down. I'll trim this up just a little bit, and I'll put this on a lathe and turn it, clean it up just a little bit so you can see how that's done. Any questions up to now? Awful quiet. I hope it's soaking in. All right, now here.
Plugged in, ready to go.
Ready to go. I just need a blade. Oh, blade's in there. Okay. Now we got to loosen this here. Got to take that off. Got to put this in here. Put that back there. There's the other ones on the market, but I swear by the DeWalt jigsaws, they sure are nice. Whoop, I gotta go there. Gotta keep that tight. All right, any questions so far? Now we got a switch here someplace. Oh yeah, no, one there. Now I hang on to all the pieces because I melt them down. Okay, I got that. I think that'll do her. We'll get this right here. Get that out there. Any questions so far? Okay, now I just trim this up here. You can do this on the sander too, but and you can do this on bandsaw or whatever you want. Okay, now, where is my spindle sander? It's right here. This is it. Okay, I'll use this right here.
Pull that. Might need power from.
Over here. You can get me power. I'll get this around for you.
Take it right, see over the top.
There's my glue
They
to.
can probably see over you. If you just want to do it right there, you're good.
Okay. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm using it upside down. This is fairly smooth. Now I have a sander, overhead sander, and generally I just run that thing through and have them smooth on both sides. But I can turn this and clean it up out here. So we'll put this on here like so. Okay, got a couple of spots there need to work out. As you see, nothing real technical about this business. Okay, I think we can unplug that probably now. All right, now what have I got on here? Oh, I gotta have one of my chucks. It's coming in at the 11th hour. It's not real good for you because you never know where anything's at. But Yeah.
Chuck's in front of the lathe. There's
Yeah.
top of the lathe.
Oh, right there. Okay. Now let me make sure. I got a smaller one. I think I can get that down. Okay. How many got lathes that have vacuums on them? Oh boy, that's good. Good. I use vacuum a lot, and so. Okay, now I got a wrench. Don't have a wrench here, do we?
With the wooden handle on it?
Wooden handle? Yeah, that's why you got to get the job on time. And no, let's see. These aren't designed for this purpose, but we'll see what it does. Going the right way. That's the wrong one there. Okay. Got to go the other way. I want to just grab the inside of that and show you how you can turn this pewter. Okay, now will you try putting that thing on there as soon as I can?
This way?
Uh,
This way?
yeah, well, just like that. Yep, there we go.
Oh, you're expanding.
Okay.
You can get a hex key that size, like 4 millimeter or something for 6 or 8 millimeter.
Should have I have one at home, but it's not doing me any good here. Are we going the right way?
Are these Vic marks? No, you gotta close down.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not.
That's good. Yep. There we go. Okay. Just a little more.
How many people put a ring on?
How far do we want to go? You want to go that all the way close?
Just like that. Yeah. Okay. Tighten it down.
It's fairly tight.
Yep. Alrighty. Now we're going to do a little pewter turning here. But what did I mention? You want to catch this stuff here. And this is just about shot. I generally got a little block it sits on, but I think I can still pick up quite a bit of it here.
Before you fire it up, Doug's bringing an Allen wrench.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it's good to check.
Good.
Be safe. Doug, he's our go-to guy.
That's right.
He loves it.
Just make that tight on there. But it looks like sin right now, but that takes a nice polish real quick like. And
Is pewter softer or harder than wood to turn on a lathe?
oh, it's pretty soft. Depends on the wood now. We got ironwood and some of those that are hard as the back of your head. Then you got balsa and so on that we don't turn hardly. But that's very soft, so it's kind of in between. You got one there?
There you go.
That's it?
Yeah, I'll let you.
Okay. That's tight there. All right, let's see where we're at here. I'll just use a skew here and clean up the edge. Not saving a lot of chips, but still, it's doing the job. Any questions so far? All I'm doing is just scraping. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, we need a little more over here, so let's see if I can. Hard on tools? No. No. Would it be harder on tools?
The question was it hard on the tools? And he said no. How does this compare in hardness? Pewter to like copper or brass? Any idea?
That I couldn't tell you. I know it's just soft. And
Probably the softest of
yeah,
all of three?
it's pretty soft.
Yeah.
So,
Dr.
I'm gonna
Carter,
try a parting tool. How's that?
we have about 15 minutes, and then we have somebody else that would like to speak on your behalf, too.
All
So
right.
about 15
Okay.
minutes.
15 minutes. Now I got to have time for my buddy here because you've got the best part to last. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Don't tell me what I can do. That's just a parting tool. And I never did get them sharpened very much, so you can see what you can do with them. But anyhow, and you can sand them. Let's come in here now. Part this off here. It doesn't necessarily have to be really polished. I got no place to put it, but I wanted you to just see what you can do. You're going to always have a few little pits and so on, but you can sand those out or turn them out. Yeah. They're going to like the next portion of the program because that segmented stuff has really got to me. I really like that.
I have a
And
question for you on your pit, those little pits and stuff that you see. Can you melt more pewter down?
you can. I've tried it. I haven't had much luck doing that. And so
All
that's
right, my
why-
question for you
Yeah.
out there on Zoom land. My question was with the little pits and stuff, if you can melt pewter down again and add to that to make those go away.
Yeah. I've done that a little bit on one of them that I've had around here. Can't remember now. It's bowl. But you see, I got little catches right there and so on. And most of the time, if I just take a little time and just sand this, why, this is soft. It'll sand down pretty fast. Let this be a nice inlay ring. And I thought I brought something that... Yes?
What kind of wood do you use for your molds?
Whatever's handy there. I generally use a particle board of some sort.
Okay,
and
thank you.
Works pretty good. But you can see it right here. And there's one right there. So it's just whatever's handy there. But it does a pretty good job. Let's see what I've got on this one here. Yeah, that was just one piece of wood there. And I turned a real thin ring, and you can see what it looks like. So it's you can just about make it out of anything you want there. Any questions so far? Now, where's this our wrench here? These work? Yes, sir. All right. Yep, that's the wrench. Now, if I was really making this for something, I would take and polish that a little more. But you see, I've got everything here. I could take that down just a hair. Or what I'd do is take this to my overhead sander and just run it through about twice, and it'll be perfectly done. But then I can put this right here, like so. And tighten it down again. It's very flexible, very soft. I want that against there. I'll just turn this outside here. You want it nice and tight. Whoop, got too tight there. Yeah, you can see it move. Huh?
It looked like it was loose at the bottom.
Well, it should have it pretty tight. We'll try it again here. We don't want it coming off on us, but... Huh? Yep, I got to wind her up here fast, and so you're going to see me around. But this is my last big hoodoo, and I've sure appreciated the help I've got. And Raleigh is just unreal. There's no two ways about that guy. Of course, he sells Coke, and I like Coke, so. That's another thing I forgot. If you got Bob Wagner's tools that are wheels that make imprints and so on, that's what I generally use. And I might have known I'd run off without that, but anyhow, they do a pretty good job. And so next best thing is just sandpaper. But let me hit this just a little bit. How am I doing on time, Bob? Huh?
About 10 minutes.
I got 10 minutes. next demo coming up is going to be Don Benz, but I'll tell you, if you ever get a little time, you can get him off in the corner, have him take you down to his basement. That guy is #1 in model trains. Holy cow. He's got them running all over the place there. And he's got miniature birdhouses he's made and so on. Real nice setup yet there. So I do know a few rich people, and that's one of them there. Well,
Okay, so Lee, before you wrap up, we have one of your former students here from CSU that would like to say something. But first of all, I know on behalf of me and everyone here, what a pleasure it's been to see this amazing demo. Yeah, I know you said it's the last demo. Lucky us to see all of this. Yes. And for everyone, I have the details. We'll get it to Jenny, the PDFs, where to get the casting clay. I have all of that information. When I was with Lee, he gave that all to me, and I'll make sure Jenny gets it and gets it out to all of you. But I think there's a young man that would like to say something.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Yeah.
Nice to see you. So it was a long time ago when I met Lee, and I was a senior in college at CSU, and I wandered over to the industrial science department, and I got hooked, and I spent another 3 years in college because I had to take every class that he offered. And you know, you haven't lost a step, Lee. You're awesome. You're sharing exactly what you do. And he always would bring a setup and had everything just like this. It was amazing. So I just want to thank him for me. And I want everybody to raise their hand out there that has been influenced by Lee or taught by Lee. And this is just a small portion of the people in the club. But you've impacted a whole lot of people over the years, and myself especially. I mean, I didn't have direction at the time I met you, and I'm still doing wood turning. I don't know, it's been at least 30 years since that.
He was one of those students that all you do just showed him one time and got out of his way and let him do his thing. And
he showed me more than one time. It was I messed up a whole bunch of stuff before I got better at it, and that's the fun thing about wood turning is there's so many different things, and I can tell that Lee is just as passionate about this new stuff he's doing as he was about whatever he was passionate about 30 years ago. So it's so super cool to see it, and this was awesome to be able to be here and watch your demo and
You're
see
very
you
kind.
make some
I didn't know
cool
you was
stuff,
even
so.
in the crowd.
I snuck in the back of the room there and been watching. So.
Well, be sure and tell the family hi.
Anyway,
and,
I'll do it for sure.
If you want a good class, this guy teaches them every
He's
month.
Awesome. Anyways, thank you so much, Lee, and
Thank
you from the bottom of my heart. And everybody here, I'm sure, is exactly like me, that you've just been such a wonderful influence in the turning community here.
Thank you.
This club wouldn't exist without you, and it probably... Yeah, obviously wouldn't be what it is today, and that's awesome. 30 years later, 94, so what's that? I didn't do the math. 28, so pretty cool. Yeah. No. I started as an art major, ended up in industrial science, so hey. Anyway, thanks again.
But guys like that... I'm awful proud of guys like that because he's been overseas. I mean, I couldn't carry his lunch bucket now. I know that. But anyhow, he's very awesome. And you got a daughter that's still doing things, don't you?
Yeah, she's still turning.
Yeah.
She's here.
Oh, she's here. Oh, right there. Hi, kiddo. Oh, she's something else. She's the one that started gluing books together and turning them. And oh, I tell you.
Lee, can you tell us a little bit about the first few meetings that Rocky Mountain Woodturners had and about how many people attended? And
well, I think he was one of what we have, 3, 4 there that first time.
Wasn't very many.
No. And
if you looked up, you were an officer, basically.
Yeah.
I was the treasurer torturer in the beginning. Can you believe how bad that is? And I can't even figure out the years that it's been.
Yeah. Well, we just really built up in little by little. Why, we had the meeting or our conference at my lecture room for several years, and then we moved over to Loveland High School, and now we're in Woodcraft here, and so we've just gradually grown. But I think last time I saw it said 125 or 128 members. Why, that's a long ways from what we had, and we've been very, very fortunate having some outstanding people from overseas like Stuart Mortimer and some of those guys. So, okay, I've got the signal from the boss that it's time for you to shut up and let somebody else. So,
If anybody else has some other questions or would like to make a comment, we have a few more minutes. We can certainly address those. Just raise your hand and I'll get a mic to you.
Now, I don't know if you need a break, but the next one here is going to be Don Benz. I forget your exact title, Don, but I understood he was in charge of the X-ray. We got a neighbor up there that said, I can't believe you got Don Benz, because he was my boss for many, many years. And that's why he's one of the richer ones around here, because he worked for Kodak. So, Don, it's all yours. We got your handouts and so on here. But thank you for inviting me. I'll be around, but anybody needs any help, just call me up and come on over to my place. By the way, I never did offer, where's my doctor at? Oh, he's sitting right there. Yeah, that's my doctor for legs, from knees on down. He takes care of that. I've got a plastic surgeon that takes care of things. And but this guy here, he's unreal. So
I think you got,
it's all yours.
is that coming through? Yeah. Boy, has it been 42 years since I bumped into Lee Carter. Yeah. I was only 12 at the time.
You lie a lot, too.
I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. My wood turning involved doing pens and weed pots and maybe some little birdhouses. And I was frustrated on making bowls because I could not get good tight segments in a ring. And I tried sanding them and putting them through the saw. Then I found this little guy. And this is the answer to the prayer right here. It's easy to make. It's just PDF. And it really just depends on what angle you put in between these two arms. If you want to make a 12-segment ring, as all of those rings that Lee had there is 12 segments, you just slide a 30-degree angle in there. If you want to make 6 segments, you put a 60-degree in there. And these arms swing back and forth here to allow for different things. But they will make real tight segments right out of the saw. You don't have to touch them up on a sander. You don't have to touch them up on another saw. You don't have to do anything, but just they come right out of the saw on this thing. And the critical part is on the back side. This has to slide in your saw miter guide, and it cannot move left or right. Can't move a fraction. It has to just be real tight in there. And you're going to want a gizmo like this to replace your saw insert with, so those segments don't come bouncing back at you. They will come back at the speed of light, and you will not have time to duck. And then for the length, I have a problem hearing, and my wife isn't with me, which means I'm a little bit deaf. The other thing you're going to need is a stop. And the stop has to be the same thing. It cannot move left or right. That's the distance from your saw to the stop determines the length of your segment. Obviously, the length of the segment depends upon the circumference of the bowl that you're turning at that point. The one bowl that Lee passed around that had that kind of haphazard look to it. No, not that one. That one's too organized. You can cut the bottom on this thing too. Here he is. He's got it there. Those are all 12 segments in there, believe it or not, depending upon. It doesn't look like it. Hand it to that gentleman there, wouldn't you? Those are all 12 segments in there. You don't want to overthink this. You start with something that looks like that by just gluing pieces together. And then you just make your 12 segments out of that. I don't really have much more than that. So I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but this is the answer to making good, tight segments right out of the saw. Do you have such a thing like that to make tight segments? I'm sure you do.
Your sheet you gave me, I've duplicated. Can you run through that a little bit on your math? I mean, you've got more math than I'll ever know, but...
They're probably sending that out.
Oh, are they sending that out? Okay, all right. So, you want to address that at all?
Does anybody have a question about how do you make the length of the segment? No questions? This is no. This is yes.
Go ahead. Tell them how to make the segments.
What? Well, you have to. You know that the circumference of a circle depends upon the diameter, and it only varies by that amount called pi, 3.1416. Long time ago, before Lee and I was born, somebody took a whole bunch of circles, little circles, big circles. And if you divide the circumference of that circle by the diameter, you get this number called pi, 3.1416. It goes on and on and on and on. It never comes out even. So if you take the circumference of the ring that you want to make at that time, and you divide it by 12, the circumference, you take the diameter, and you multiply that by 3.1416, then you're going to get the circumference. You take the circumference and divide that by 12, or 6 or 8, and you end up with how long your segments should be. You surely, okay?
There's mud.
And you're going to come up with a weird-looking number that's going to be 1.3758. Then you just got to convert what your decimal is to a fraction and just multiply whatever that fraction is by 16 or 8, and that'll give you the number of 16ths that your length of your segment would be. Don't overthink this. I mean, it's pretty darn easy. Alrighty? When I do the sled, I kind of like to use this. I have a very nervous left hand. The doctor says it's not Parkinson's, Don. You have what's called essential tremor, and you see it in both of my hands. I like to put a squiggly mark on top and then put a line on the front, because when you cut them on the sled, some are going to come out plain like this, and some are going to have the line on the back. And then the other ones are going to have the line on the front, but it'll be plain on the back, because you're cutting them that way, that way. So you just take this thing and you just cut them like that, and out comes your segment. It is really, really a neat thing, and the sled is easy to make. I think if you just type into your browser, Google how to make the wedgie sled, and it'll take you to a website by a guy by the name of David, and he'll show you how to make this thing. He's a very good instructor. And all it is PDF and a couple of carriage bolts, and that's about it. But the main thing is no play. The hardest part is routing the slides in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm certainly glad he wasn't my math teacher, because I'd still be in that class.
So Don, is it Don? Was that your name? Don? So the guy here right behind you is our demonstrator coordinator, and I think he might like to talk to you about doing a demonstration for us.
Said we're going to sign you up for a demonstration.
Oh.
Yeah.
It'll be a good one.
You just cannot make tires. And you can do these bottom things like this on the sled. And as well as the rings.
Nice job. Nice job.
Let's give these guys a round of applause for tonight.